Good evening, and welcome to another session from the Nerdy Playbook. We are doing something new today, and we're doing our first group podcast. We're going to try something new. Hopefully, it works out. Hopefully, you guys enjoy. Because we are D&D players, I figured we would open it up with just talking about what we think is great about D&D, other than just playing a regular tabletop RPG, things that might actually impact people's lives, that maybe friendship or any kind of pieces of that. Before we begin, we're just going to go around and I'm just going to say who we all got here today with us. On the top left corner is myself. I am Joe. I am the dungeon master for both the campaigns. Top right is Amber. Bottom left, Josh. Center, Jordan, and bottom right, Andrew. We're going to start off with Amber, if you want to just kind of say the characters you play as.
So I played Serafina in the first campaign, which was the Fire Genasi. And then I also, in this campaign, I play Fig, who is a changeling. So.
And Josh.
So, this is my first time playing with this group, and I currently play Celeste, Vampire Barbarian. I haven't played any other campaigns with you guys previously, but so far enjoying it.
I'm glad you are. It's nice to have a bigger group. It's more entertaining that way. So the more people, the better. Jordan.
Oh boy! Hi. A little pubescent moment there. Hi, I'm Jordan. Depending on who you ask. In campaign 1, I played Gladlin Rosewind, the very moody, sulky, anxious half-elf monk druid. And in campaign 2, I played the madam who has betrayed everybody. Spoilers.
Drama.
Fig doesn't like him.
It's okay. She doesn't like her.
Celeste doesn't like her either.
No one likes her.
Most importantly, I am playing the Aasimar samurai Kaden Kyoshu. And he's got some stuff going on.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you guys to eventually just dive into that, but it's gonna be a while. So.
And I do Dungeon Master on occasion when it's Christmas.
When it's Christmas, we'll get a one shot with you running it. I'm actually glad you're gonna do another one because I felt like you ran away in fear last time after the last one.
Totally did.
Last but not least is Andrew.
Hello.
Hi.
I play Norin in the first campaign, and he was a wood elf warlock who was kind of evil, tried to be evil, and then all of his evilness went away, so he was just a good guy. He's just trying to help out. And on campaign 2, I play as Hal, the Aerocrockerel. Let's see, he is a rogue, he is a fighter, and he is a ranger. So
yeah, a whole mess of different things. Cool. So we're in 2 campaigns. We're in our second campaign at this point. We started streaming pretty much right during COVID, when a lot of people did, and I think it's made it a little more entertaining for us because in that way nobody has to really leave the comfort of their home, their chair. They can relax, they can put on comfy clothes, and they can still play. They can choose to roll with their dice, so they can keep it digital. That way people don't have to track everything. So we've been trying to get in a session. We've been trying to do it once a week. But, busy lives, adulting, so on and so forth. But either way, we persevere and we try to play. And
we forgot characters that we've played because we did Call of Cthulhu with this group too.
Oh, yes. We've also done Call of Cthulhu.
Yes, we were there.
That was in person.
Yeah, I mean, we just did a recent session for Halloween. That was 2 weekends ago, and we did a Call of Cthulhu session for anybody who knows Call of Cthulhu 70, and
it was a blast.
Was it?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. I'm
Yeah,
glad you
it
guys
was
liked
fun.
Yes.
I'm glad you guys
Yes.
liked it. I can never
I
tell.
live.
Jack
but
Thomas
yes,
will have his revenge.
I got to let some people try a different aspect that haven't tried combat focused, and we went into more, if anybody's played Call of Cthulhu, more investigative focus.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with a horror aspect to it, mystery horror, very Clue style, which is a lot of fun. You guys know me, I love my horror stuff, so whenever it comes up to Halloween, I love to do a one-shot, whether it's Call of Cthulhu or just a crazy, freaky D&D one-shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But-
it's with that before you go.
Yeah.
That was like the first time my girlfriend has ever rolled dice
That's
in
right,
any
yeah, 'cause
game
it
like
That's
that.
right.
Yeah.
And other than the typical like Monopoly and stuff like that, and she loved it. She thought it was a great
Yeah,
time.
and I told her too that if she wants to guest in like an episode and play as a character, I can give her a choice of character to play as too. So I love
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, she got excited when she told me that.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a cool thing to branch off of because, you can get people that don't ever think about like D&D being a fun thing to do, and then you kind of see people do it. You kind of can see how much fun they're having with it. It's a good way to stretch some fun acting muscles that you never thought you had. Play as a character that you never thought that you could actually do in public with other people. I like it because I've grown up having like a very, very vivid imagination as a kid, with the outfits and swords and pretending like I'm another person. So this allows me to not only play as a character, but allow me to actually take my busy mind and put it on paper, essentially, so other people can experience it instead of it just being trapped up there and basically me being a crazy man, even though I still am.
I tell him he needs to write a book.
Amanda was saying that too after that. She's like,
oh, yeah?
He made all that up. She was like, why doesn't he write this up and sell this to people? Because before we played the Call of Cthulhu, you wrote up that whole murder mystery that we played that wasn't streamed. That was really fun as well.
Yep. And that is like I wrote up 12 hours before we did it.
Yeah.
So that was last minute. That was really last minute. Because I thought that I was gonna have like we had a couple friends that I won't name because this is a stream of Ambers that did a murder mystery at their place like 4 years ago before Amber and I were married, and they did a murder mystery, and then immediately after I thought it was so cool, there was like all these free files going around of like already templates you can with characters already made. Well, now because it's so popular, now like the average file costs you $50. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna spend $50. Well, let me see if I can just bowl this the whole way through, and I did. So
yeah, it worked.
And it was great. You could probably make $50 off of it.
Yeah. I mean, it worked out that you guys were good sports because like I was making up rules at the last minute. Like, you know what? Let's throw a D20 in here. Let me text you guys random stuff on the side, and yeah. So yeah, I mean, D&D for me is a way for me to get out of my busy head. Put it down on paper and let people see the stories that I create up in my mind, so I don't just keep this locked up in there. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But then I can take like my favorite games like Final Fantasy and put them on the paper and be like, this is my weird, quirky version of Final Fantasy that I like to create, kind of thing like that. Because obviously I create a lot of Final Fantasy aspects in my games.
Well, that's because you do a lot of you do homebrew, and if anybody
homebrew, yeah.
So if people don't understand what homebrew means, is something that, like he said, is he completely makes up. It has the same pretty much functionality and mechanics as D&D, but the storyline and everything is not from an adventure book or so on. And it's all in his head. So he makes them up and writes them down and goes on a fly. Sometimes you have lots of notes, and then sometimes you don't. Or we, as this team knows, we like to make him go like this and rip his notes off and do something completely different than what he likes, than he wants us to do. So, but that's okay. That's kind of the fun about it. So.
Yeah, which is like
Don't do it on
homebrew
purpose.
gives you like a unique experience for whatever GM you want to or DM you want to play with, you know, and like you could get everybody could buy a adventure book and you know follow the same cookie cutter thing, and I'm not trying to knock those down at all. Those are also fun, but with homebrews you get a very unique experience, and like you said, sometimes it's off the rails that like not even the DM knew it was going to be that unique.
Well, I got to agree with you, Josh, because it's like one of the big reasons I like D&D is that it's a group storytelling experience. So like Joe will have a general idea of, okay, here's the world, here are the directions that it could possibly go. But then you've got all of us who are variables who might throw something at you, like, I don't know, praying to a character that comes back. You know?
Or makes a very stupid choice when he goes,
Or make a
are you sure
stupid
you want to
choice.
fly?
You do.
You want to fly?
Or the last session.
Spoiler.
I don't know if we were intended to jump off of a moving train, but we did it.
We did.
Thank you, Juanis, for the follow. We appreciate it. We love you. But continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jumping off moving trains is fun.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, I mean D&D is I mean the purpose of this is you know, for me, other than me stretching out some fantasy muscles that I have in there, it's a good. I think it's a good way for us to, I think, do something that we don't get to do in regular life. You can't really do this in any other game. I mean, you can do it in other RPGs. I mean, there's many other tabletop RPGs, but I think that the best thing for this, as far as anywhere between a player or a DM, is it allows you to enter this fantasy world without you feeling like you're an oddball in the process. Like you get to be completely comfortable in being whatever crazy kick that you want to be. If you want to be the dragonborn that has one leg and only things whenever he's in a good mood, whatever you want to do, like it allows you to bring in whatever works, and hopefully you don't get judged for it. And
most of the time, the people I played with, nobody really ever judges. If you're gonna get judged, it's like you went for that one-legged like thing, and you're trying to get that reaction to be like a little humorous or whatever.
Yeah, you're doing it on purpose. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Or
yeah. Go ahead.
Or like you were saying, like people like it's a comfortable environment, in which it is, and it's so comfortable that you could play something that like is completely uncomfortable for who you are. Like you want to play a bard that's very outspoken, but you're a very like inward kind of person, and you could play a bard around a comfortable group of people to like break that out. And like I've always wanted to go and play on stage at a packed pub, and it gives you the opportunity to kind of experience it in front of other people.
Yeah.
I really like it along those same lines. Like you can take a party, like I always have a tendency of putting a part of my personality into one of my characters.
No, I never guessed that.
I know. Like, no, Joe and I were talking about it, like, about earlier today, because if you hadn't watched our latest episode, one of my character from the last campaign came back, and we were chatting the other day on IM about, like, hey, Joe, how are you going to get into character about being Gladlet?
I am
Joe,
not ready.
And you know, and I was like, well, yeah, you just basically got to be, you know, a little over dramatic, and you know, and blah blah. He's like, oh, it's like the Madam. And I'm like, oh no, I have a type.
Oh,
Yes.
The drama.
The booming personality.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we want to make new characters every time, I think we always have like a certain
Hey,
trope
my
that we
character's
stick in.
new.
Yeah.
My character
Yeah,
is
your
definitely
character's
new.
different. Yeah, I mean, you had the bubbly, like very I have never seen this world before kind of personality.
Mhm.
But you have the I'm closed in and I don't care about what anybody else wants other than what my main objective is. So you,
I'm pretty sure we
I'm
had
not
to
used
say
to
it.
it.
Yeah, we had to do so. For people that don't know me outside of D&D, like I'm a very much open kind of personality person. I'm very nice. Like I try to be bubbly and kind of stuff. Not uber bubbly, not as much as Serafina was, but yeah. So Fig's character being kind of reserved and being very, well, I guess grumpy to a point. It's very different for as a person, and so obviously that goes back to what we were talking about before. That you can try out different types of people or personalities or whatever, and have kind of that idea to act out something different. It also helps that you're like we said, you're in a trusted group of friends mostly. And most of the time I've ever played D&D has been with groups of friends. So there's only been a couple times that I've played with people that I don't know. So, and I think that does a different aspect of it too, is because you kind of can play off of each other a little bit more because you might know each other better. So
Yep.
yeah.
And if you don't, like in my case here, I knew half of the party before coming in, and I didn't know like literally half and half. Like I met Jordan, Corey, and Amanda, all amazing people, and now I'm like very close and comfortable with them. Like over at your house just the last couple weekends ago, like it wasn't like I've never met two of these people. No one person ever, in real life, but it was like, oh well, it was like we met each other in real life.
Yeah, 'cause that'd be the
Because
first time you would have met Amanda.
Yeah, it would have been Amanda. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Forgot about that.
but you will become comfortable with these people, or you should if you're in a good group.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
And,
I know a lot
I
of.
guess.
Go ahead.
I guess it was always my long-term goal to get Josh involved because he was on the rim, and I would tell us all about our first campaign. And I was like, "Join us! You have to get around to it.
Join us.
Join
Be
us.
one of us.
And I got Sarah.
One of us.
And I
Sarah was
think he
actually
knew.
the gateway.
Yeah,
Sarah
I
was the
think he.
gateway because if I got
It
Sarah,
was,
and she
and then it got
drove
me.
Josh in, so it was
Yeah,
like
'cause I played with Sarah before, and
Played the long
our
game.
group we were playing before this group, Sarah and I were playing. It kind of fell apart, which happens. Which is sad, but like as that one fell apart, and I think Andrew knew I was like craven, like I have to roll some dice, dude.
Like, I gotta roll force your dice.
I mean, that's kind of how I got involved with the campaign with you guys originally when Joe was originally starting campaign 1. He put a thing out on Facebook. He was like, hey, it's pandemic time. Let's do something online. Anyone want to join? And Joe and I had only met once. Literally once.
Yeah, once.
At a mutual friend's wedding. And love you, Ruby, if you're watching, by the way. And like, and so like he put that out there, and I'm like, you know what? My last group had just like Josh's had just fallen apart. There was drama, not of my kind that happened, and it was like okay, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to. I want to roll dice again. Let's go. I've got books. I'm ready. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could easily say that in the past 2 years, we doubled our group size.
Yes, we have.
It was just Amber, Andrew, Corey, and myself.
Yep.
And then we added.
Jordan.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
But then we
did.
added Jordan and Amanda.
Yep.
Then we added Sarah and then Josh.
Yep.
So
But
we
there
really
were-
doubled our group.
That's another campaign of homebrew that we did, which was like a Ruby style one long
we
ago.
did like the Ruby RWBY.
We scared ourselves silly.
Yeah, I mean, like if you ever like oh, I wonder what if they did this story. I mean, don't if you got some fan theories, put it on paper and actually DM a game. It's a lot of fun. I obviously can't. I don't have licensing to do anything Ruby. That would get me so sued. But the
we don't
the
we don't stream those.
no, we don't
Obviously,
stream
but-
those. But yeah, I mean, so personally for me, like, I even mentioned this. So the gentleman who taught me, I will not say his name, who kind of taught me, other than I'd like to say that I'm mostly self-taught, and a lot of things I learned from watching Matthew Mercer, because honestly, I believe he's the teacher to all DMs everywhere, because we always want to strive to be Matt Mercer. But I don't think I know I'll never get on that page. But the
And for a reference of who Matt Mercer is, for those that
Matt Mercer, for anybody who hasn't watched Critical Role is I'd like to say the leading D&D streaming show that's
It
on their
is,
third
yeah.
season
Oh, yeah.
that just started.
hands
And,
down, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
weird because actually Critical Role was my second D&D exposure. It wasn't my first one.
Yeah.
okay, yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of other ones, but they're really the leading one. And Matt Mercer is the DM, and they're all voice actors.
Yeah.
there's-
So to
there's
be
no way you can
fair,
ever keep up with their capabilities. So anybody who kind of there is a thing called the Matt Mercer effect that a lot of people don't think any other DMs are good enough because they watch Matt Mercer so much. But Matt Mercer is a pro voice actor, so he can keep in the back of his mind over 100 different voices, and he can remember exactly what that character looks like, how they're supposed to act for it. I mean, he created a voice for a patch of grass.
well,
Like,
Yeah.
and that's another example of a group of friends. They had been playing for years and years and years before they decided to, let's do this.
Start filming it, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's also that, and it was also like kind of something that I think they did to try to keep themselves fresh for like their job, pretty much.
Yep.
So, which is another thing that you can use tabletop games too. Also, is if like you want to. Maybe if you are working on a play or working on something like a script or something that you're doing, and you want to try to test out a character and see how that character would work in like a real life situation, you can do that with tabletop games like D&D pretty easily, even just a one shot, just to see how that would work and then be like, oh no, maybe I need to change this character's dynamics, or, oh, that actually worked pretty well. So now I know how they would react while you're writing or making a screenplay or something.
Keep those
I don't know
creative
how-
juices flying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys got started in D&D, but for me, like before I even got into it, I thought it was just like, okay, it's gonna be Lord of the Rings, Shannara, really
Right.
boring. Let's fight dragons and goblins. And then I got
Storm the dungeon.
just a little background on me. Like I ran my improv troupe in college for 3 years, like 3 of my 4 years. So
This all
I
makes sense.
heard, yeah, it does. All pieces come in. But so I discovered the podcast, The Adventure Zone, just on a whim. I was on a road trip, and it's basically the guys who do My Brother and Me, who are basically improv comedians. They're 3 brothers, and they decided they were going to do a D&D campaign with the 3 brothers and their father, and none of them had played D&D before, so it was starting fresh with them from the beginning. And I was realizing, oh, this is just improv acting with a story that you're all telling together. And then I was like, okay, I'm in.
Right, yeah. I think my first ever interest of it was actually I had a friend that was huge into it, and I never paid attention. And it's always talking about, well, Gary Gygax is from Wisconsin, you should at least know all that and stuff like that. But if you ever watched the movie SLC Punk, and at the end, when they discover punk music, they were playing it, and I was like, what are they playing? So I kind of looked it up, and I was really young, and then I was like, I've always wanted to play. And then I think about high school 3.5 came out. I think
it would have been when we were in high school. 3.5.
Yeah.
And I played that and loved it, and I had such a great time. And then once again, over time you get through different groups, and then Well, that group fell apart because 4.0 came out. Because we played for a long time, and then 4.0. Sorry, if there is any fans out there, my opinion is garbage.
I think it universally does suck. I haven't found a
We
single
don't
person that
speak
actually
of
likes
4.
4.0. Yeah, we don't, I mean, I've never tried it, but I've never found a single person that liked 4.
No, it literally was.
I love
Yeah, it was so bad that's we started playing that. We moved our characters over into 4.0, and we just stopped playing because it just did not hold our interest.
Oh, Josh, I think you would really like this. I found a Tumblr that was that is.
Oh
called-
God, Tumblr.
It's called 3.5 to 5, and basically all of the monsters that were in 3 and 3.5, they're updating them to 5th edition, so you can play them in 5th edition.
Oh, nice.
Because so like there's a lot of like, oh crap, that would be a cool monster. I've never heard of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, going off of like how we started. I mean, like I was mentioning earlier, there's a gentleman that's a friend of ours who has been playing D&D since we were all younger. I had the option to play D&D when I was in high school, and I was kind of told it in a way that doesn't sound appealing, because I guess when you were younger, if you want to play D&D properly, you would have to buy all the books, and then you have to get all the stuff, and it was a lot more expensive. And I didn't have the money to afford all that, and also be a gamer. And so like I literally did not actually start playing D&D until like 4 years ago.
Was it 4 years ago?
It was right after we got married.
Was it?
So,
yeah. Well, we did that one shot long ago,
Yeah.
but when we first started dating, but that was better. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm actually not like an oldie when it comes to D&D. And we were taught from a couple friends of ours, and it kind of became a thing. Both that I don't like. Unlike most people, I don't like playing the game. I just like running the game. So I have a tough time running the game,
which is vice versa for me.
Yeah, and
I
some
don't
people
ever want to.
Some people can do it both. Some people can do either or. I'm very much like. I think it's because that I have such a vivid imagination that if I see a certain scenario going one way, and it unfortunately does not go that way, which is not a bad thing, it's based off the DM's imagination, I somehow get disappointed by it, and that's just the way I think, because I'm just like, oh, I hope it's going to go this way. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, well. But that's just me.
Player too, like especially having DM'd, it makes you more aware of like as a player the things you can do.
Yeah. And I mean, so for people who do not play D&D, first off, at least understand that D&D is not a game that you're supposed to. I'm gonna use the word win. The game is just about hanging out with friends, and it can be a lot of combat, a little combat, just random talking, whatever like that. And no matter which way you do it, it's not about like being the ultimate badass in the whole thing. It's about just having a good time. And if it's the DM taking you through a lot of cool boss battles, or they're taking you through a super easy game where you're just fighting a bunch of goblins and realistically they're trying to make you look really cool. Either way, it's just meant to be fun.
It's about the journey, not the actual like
right
the end boss
that doesn't even exist.
I mean, like,
you did a cool backflip. Good on you.
I mean, we got one person here who's already lost a character this campaign, even though it was technically part of the story, which was Jordan. So it's not uncommon for you to lose a character, but if the DM does it right, you can just write up another character, and bing bang boom. Hopefully, you didn't lose like 2 pages worth of story in the process. But
sometimes that's even the funnest part, is losing your character. Like
people gotta die. Like it's just the way the story works.
And it's fun. You're like, oh crap, I just died. Like what just happened? And you could enjoy it. Like you don't have to be like all heartbroken and this like, oh, the end of the world is upon us and stuff like that. Like
I mean, I would feel heartbroken if my character just suddenly died.
Oh yeah, and you should feel heartbroken. You should be attached to your character. But it's also fun to let their story, come to fruition. Like just hope that it's a good way.
I try to make a point that I don't want the creatures to kill a certain person if I think that person still has a story to tell.
Sure.
Between Jordan's character and Corey's character, they lost their characters due to a pivotal part of their story. Their
Mhm.
character stories still have impact on the campaign. The Madam obviously is now a villain. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it yet, she's a villain now.
Yes.
So that has a future somehow works into the story. Corey's first character, NG, he's dead, but in a certain way, he's still around, and some of the characters know, some of the players know, some players don't know, but it has an impact on the rest of the story. That way, I'm not just saying, sorry, you don't get to finish your story, throw it in the trash. If you get the right DM, they'll allow you to still get something out of it. So, if you get it, and it takes some time. I mean, I've been through 5 campaigns that I didn't do on my own, and they were not. And it took me some time in the 2 campaigns I ran before our first official campaign, and until I finally got track of like, what should I do? What should I do? What I shouldn't do? What should I make sure that everybody's having fun, but also allows me to be an enemy at sometimes, kind of thing like
Well,
that.
and that's kind of part of it too, is that, when you play D&D, all of us started out as new at one time, right?
Yeah.
And so we've all changed and grown. I mean, my background, I grew up in a nerd house, so my mom played D&D back when she was in college. So I was aware of D&D already as a small child. So with that being said, like I already knew the idea, the classic D&D style of stuff. And so like then getting involved in D&D myself, at first you don't really not sure what you want to do, all that kind of stuff. But then as you play and get to know what's a good style for you or so on, that's where you get that chance to grow and learn different kinds of ways of doing things, because we all know there's certain things that are specifically like mechanics that break the game, but we also know that when you're learning to play too, nobody's going to judge you about that. Like you don't have to be the Matt Mercers of the world to play.
You don't have to. Right. You just be your own person. It's cool to watch Critical Role. Obviously, I love Critical Role. I think all of us here love Critical Role, but it's very much, don't even take it as a pipe dream that you can be there. Just take it as these guys are at the top of their game, and just kind of see what they do, and maybe you can copy a few traits that they do. But they are all pro voice actors. Some of them, like Ashley Johnson, are actually also live action actors. So they're in a different game than us, unless if whoever's watching us is actually a voice actor, then we might have the same chops. But as far as us, we work regular jobs. We do not have the skills that they have. We just know that right now. We're not going to tease ourselves with it. But right now,
I think the only person that's close enough to being in the Hollywood or video kind of world is Andrew with your background, and that's about it. Like most of us have complete different backgrounds. We have completely different kinds of industry jobs.
If you have a good group of friends, it doesn't matter. It should be. I mean, I think we're all, even though some of us are still new to the group, even when we all started, I think we all felt comfortable enough that we weren't embarrassed by the way we treated our characters. Like, if we wanted to have our characters have a certain quirk, we weren't embarrassed to do it. Like, if it wasn't like us standing in front of the classroom trying to show off our artwork that we done for the class. It was
that most likely your mom made.
Yeah, right. This is if you find the right group, you can have that quirky character that you've been dreaming of since you've seen Lord of the Rings or whatever, and like, what if Aragon actually casted spells or something like that? You can create that character.
The cool thing is, like, when you do campaigns, it's great to find one of those kind of groups where you can build off the character. But there's also the whole idea, if you go to the convention circuit, they do have tabletop games where you can jump into if you've never played before, and you can just pick out a character out of like a stack of characters and try to play. And that's more of like where you're thrown into the situation. It's a one shot, which is always a good way of learning too.
Oh, absolutely. That is I've seen here in town in Janesville, there was a place downtown that was doing that, and they had like pre-written characters, and they had a bunch of different tables. And in situations like that, if you can find something local that where they do have a pre-written character group, like you just come in, jump on a group, play with them, bring some dice along. They'll most likely have dice because everybody has multiple sets.
And off of that, now is like the best time to try to start playing D&D with a group of friends, because like even if you just got like a few friends, like the average group size is just 4 people. Like even if you have one DM and 3 people, right now with COVID, all technology for all this stuff is at it's great. I mean, like we're all using digital stuff. None of us, I mean, a couple of us are still rolling dice, but D&D Beyond
we love
like,
it.
takes
I love rolling
everything
it.
for you. You can use it for free if you want to. You just are limited to like X amount of characters. But you don't have to go to each other's house even if it's not even about COVID, but you're just like, I got a friend that lives over in the opposite side of the states. I got a friend that just driving sucks. It's like that doesn't have to take into account. Like you can have, I mean, half of us live in Illinois, the other half live in the same town.
Yeah.
And we occasionally get a party together where we all meet up. But other than that, I mean, we're able to do it once a week because we know that we meet this one time slot, we just all have to be home and our network has to be on. And that's it. This is like the best time to learn how to play D&D.
And if you really wanted to, if it's a financial issue, you could literally just like go to Reddit or other places that have like things to help you like for free, and you don't even have to be there. If you're watching this on something, you can play D&D with friends across the whole United States or the world if you really wanted to.
Look, I mean, it's free.
I've done a couple of games with friends in Australia, actually. So
and it doesn't cost anything. Like if you really didn't want to spend any money, you don't have to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can find a free group, and even if you're just one of those, you can. I mean, I've even seen stuff on Reddit where it's been someone that posts. It's like, I'm a new DM. I just want to find casual players so I can try this out, and then it's just free, and it's just it's just like I only want people who are new to D&D so we can all learn together.
Well, there's actually there's an actual like full thread that's specifically for finding campaign groups to be where I have friends that have really do that. They do a lot of that where most of the campaigns that they're in, they don't physically know the people who they're playing with. Obviously when you play D&D, you end up becoming pretty close with the group of the people that you play with, so you end up being friends if it's a good group. But like there's that a bit, and that's another thing is like D&D, besides just being a tabletop game or just a game, it's a way of socializing and meeting new people with like terms and like minds too. So
look at this right now. I mean, we decided to do a podcast, and then we also play games together occasionally, video games and stuff like that, while we're at the comfort of our own houses because we decided we feel comfortable with each other. You know, I'm a fair believer that D&D is a good way to kind of see how someone is personally, and like you can tell if someone's cheating or just how the way they play the game. And if it's a comfortability thing, it kind of works out. It's so.
It's really funny because Amber and I's characters, I don't think Amber and I's characters in either campaign have ever been like really good friends. Like in the first one, it was like kind of like I think Gladlin and Serafina were like kind of like uncle and niece or nephew.
Annoying niece. Yes, annoying niece.
Like uncle, and then we had the madam and Fig just the whole time.
Oh yeah.
And so like even after like Uber and I would get into it, like we would have an adversarial session.
I mean, to explain some of the quirky characters we got, I mean like from campaign 1, Serafina was a genasi that was of noble bloodline, but she was like new to the world because she was kind of like the princess.
I was locked in a tower.
Right. So as a character plot point, she was super naive to the world. So she was like so giddy to see the world, but obviously she would like believe anybody that would have sold her something that was like 5 times worth its price. So she really played that role really well. But then you got on the other hand, like Gladlin, who is supposed to be this start off as a druid, then went over to a monk. and
Yeah.
you were supposed to be like you really played your own kind of self in that. You did like the super flamboyant kind of druid, and
Well,
it's
okay,
really
hold
like
on. No, he was angsty, but
I'm
also
gonna throw my
dramatic.
sword
There's
with
a
it, dude.
difference.
I mean, it worked because you had this quirk, which in D&D, like these rules don't apply, but since I do homebrew, I just kind of like, well, if it's a quirk and doesn't involve combat, yeah, sure. So you had like your whole thing where you could just you could druid craft roses from your own body.
Mhm.
I'm like, sure, yeah, why not? Like if it doesn't deal with anything with the combat, then fine. But even like during Thorn Whip, like you would have roses come off of it, didn't do any extra damage. But I'm like, for aesthetic appeal, why not? Like make it different. Sure.
Yeah.
So, and like things like those quirks actually add to the story. So like there was a point in campaign one where we were in a tavern that had a lot of people who were under a spell, and they were all very drunk. So Gladolin started making rose crowns and selling them to all the people.
Okay, I'm like, okay. So I think I had you like make like a performance check and you like rocked it. So I'm like, yeah, you're making like 20 gold. Like
like just because and here was the quirk that ended up, helping us along the way to a point, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean there are actually nightmare stories out there. Sorry, there are actually nightmare stories out there. So don't be distasteful by nightmare stories. I mean, they're obviously a really cool person that I know Amber and I like to watch on the watch Crit Crab. So Crab's really good. He's the one that like you submit stuff to his Reddit page, and then it's like nightmare stories, like these crazy weird nightmare stories.
They're really good stories. Right? He'll also do like really good stories too. Like if he does a couple really good ones too. Like if it was an outstanding way of DMing or whatever, if you submit it, there's been a couple where he's actually
he'll
read
credit
about
the person for being like, okay, this person's
Yeah.
being a really good DM, but in this scenario, there's not really anything they can do about it.
Yeah.
But it gives you like all the worst nightmare stories, and it's really funny to listen to. But yeah, if you find yourself a good group of friends and you don't decide to just say, "Oh, I just want to play D&D," how about you, and you? We all play. It's probably not going to work out well.
Yeah.
It's very much moving into an apartment the first time and you're just randomly getting a random person to move in with you. It's probably not going to rock. Like it's, and put some thought into the group. Don't just like find random people because you really want to play D&D.
Exactly.
Find a group of friends that, like with our group, we all started as friends of friends of friends. I knew Jordan because he was a friend of a person, Ruby, when she was getting married, and we just met, and it just randomly, like you said, I put an ad out for I want to play D&D. Who wants to join? And I only saw you once in a while at cons, and that was pretty much it. And then we had Amanda join because she was part of another campaign, and then we had Sarah join because she was interested, and then it went over to Josh because he was interested, and I did like a little interview thing before, but that was pretty much it. And and then again, we all became really close. And I mean, Josh, when did you join? Like 5 months ago?
Not even.
I don't even think it was that. And I was
felt
only
like
supposed to be there for like a couple.
Right,
couple
you were just supposed to
sessions.
sub in for like a few episodes, and I'm just like, you seem like you're really liking this. Do you want to join?
Oh, I don't like it. I love it.
Yeah. And
I
see,
mean,
that's the thing. You could.
And you brought your girlfriend to do some too.
And then your girlfriend was here for the one shot. Yeah.
But that's a way you could do it, is like create a character or something that can be a temporary character if you're interested in bringing somebody along and see how they play for the session or two. And if you didn't really like their play style, because to be honest and truthful, there are some players out there that just they're the ones that think there's an ending to the game, and they just have to be like the most powerful thing ever.
You don't want that. You don't want to rush it. I mean, for people who don't know, I mean, D&D is only up to your maximum level is 20. So if you're rushing up levels and you're right up to level 19, the story is almost done. So if you're one of those people that gets impatient, it's like, well, I'm only at level 3 and we've been playing for like 6 sessions. Are we gonna level up? It's like, calm down. If the DM's going to give you a lot of level progression quickly, the game's going to be over fast.
Exactly.
And I'm personally a person, I think you guys have discovered this already, is that I want it long term, like at least a year for the story.
Yeah.
And which
And
I
that-
like. I enjoy
Like
that.
a year.
That way,
I like
you
that.
guys invest in it fully. When it comes to the end, it has
Mhm.
emotion to it. I mean,
Yeah.
I
And
mean, tears at the end of campaign 1. Tears.
Yeah.
Jesus.
yeah.
Oh.
Which, by the way, I do have the one shot all set for the 1.5 for the campaign.
Ah.
So
I don't know.
and I
What?
got to actually tell that to
Really?
the group.
What?
Yeah, I have the one shot all set. So,
But with
yeah.
with the Russian of the levels, so just to keep that rolling a little bit,
Yeah.
Mhm.
there, depending on what character you play, you will learn your character will learn spells along the way. If you progress or level up so fast, you won't actually know how to use those skills
Mhm.
properly, and you will
Right.
forget them. Like you want to
Oh.
know how to fully utilize your character by the time you get to level 20.
Well,
In the
Mhm.
slow
Well, I-
progression.
and
also
just
with
with
the
that
slow
too. Go ahead, Jordan.
I was gonna say with the slow progression too, you actually get to settle into your character a little bit, personality wise.
Exactly. I
Mhm.
mean, the other thing is what people don't understand is like 75% of the spells aren't actually damage. They're there for like random talking and
Yeah,
thievery and
that's
stuff
true.
like that. So if you're
Sickness.
leveling up quickly, you're not even using all your spells because a lot of them are about lying to people or trying to understand people or trying to
Yeah.
read the magic in the room. Things that don't really work if you're constantly leveling up in combat. So you're missing out on a lot of the game if you just decide to just level up and rush.
Yeah.
So
A lot of it isn't even combat either. It's like, oh, this helps you walk better. This helps you
right,
fly.
yeah, you get to
Helps
you get to
you
fly or
explore
you
more.
get a faster movement speed.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's gonna help me
And
to
if you
fight.
don't have
Cool. I'm in for it.
And
What's up,
also,
Susan?
I was gonna say with also having the slower regression or progression of leveling, it allows for the storyline to keep going longer than just being combat. Because
Absolutely.
personally, my style of D&D that I like is more of that storyline style with a little bit of combat here and there.
And
Um,
that's where I try to do it because obviously I like to throw combat in there, but I want to make sure that when you guys are in combat, stuff is still kind of
In the
happening.
background.
Where it's not
Right.
just like, oh, you're in a random room, and by the way, you just get surrounded by a bunch of elves. Fight. Like
Right.
there has to be a reason to it.
And
Yeah.
you could tell that if you're a player or not. If you play like, let's say Skyrim or some RPG, and if you skip over the cutscenes a lot, like first time playing, like skip, I just want to go fight more things. This, to be honest, this isn't the kind of game you should play.
Right.
Maybe pick up like Warhammer or something
Mm,
like that.
yeah,
I mean,
Warriors or something.
the best example is the easiest one for this one is Lord of the Rings. They're really fighting only 25% of the movies. A lot of it is them walking, going in to get some food, going. I mean, the first movie, Fellowship of the Ring, is like the perfect example of like the beginning of D&D. You have to go find someone in tavern. They had to go find Aragon when he was in the tavern.
Yep.
They had to all regroup. They were sent on a mission. They're all together. I mean, like it's a perfect example of that. Really, in that movie, there wasn't that much combat until the end. I mean, they were being chased, by the
Yeah.
Nazgul and stuff like that. So it's a very good example. And if you immediately say, I play Lord of the Rings, I just want a lot of combat. Well, realistically, Lord of the Rings, the main characters aren't in combat that much.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amber. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, well, that plays to the fact that D&D campaigns is supposed to be a story. So, like a novel, those are all novels. Yes, they're been made into movies, but those are novels. So it has to have that dynamic where there are the fast and action scenes, and then there's still like, oh, we're just gonna walk around here, or oh, it comes in pints, like little funny little areas here and there, because to make it interesting. And the same thing for D&D, unless you're doing just a straight, dungeon style D&D where you're just doing a fight, fighting a dragon, that kind of stuff, the more classic dungeon style, that's fine too, because those are good to learn to get to learn the actual like how the mechanics of D&D works. But when you're in those longer campaigns, and especially homebrews, what makes more fun and makes it more entertaining to watch and also to be part of is when it's more of that kind of novel style of a take of an actual story.
Yep. And I mean, if you don't, and if you're a DM and you're not comfortable yet, maybe you're not sure that you are ready for people to see your story yet, and you want to save that for when you feel like you're more experienced. If you get any of the modules, they usually only cost like $20 a book, and you feel like you just want to go by one of the adventures that got built into them, they already have adventures planned. As a DM, all you're really doing is you're just reading off the story and you're making sure that you are the villain at certain times. You have certain NPCs already made for you. And that way you can focus on learning how to be a DM first. And then you can be like, all right, I got this story saved and I want to make sure I don't waste it while I'm not that good of a DM yet.
Well, and like and really, I mean, and I think we all have that where we're like, this my character could be better at this, that I could do this better next time. But also, you don't like if you run some of those modules that you learn the mechanics of D&D and mechanics of doing as a DM or so on like that, or you do just you just try, and if you have a trusted group of friends to do it, you don't have to stream it like we do. You don't have to. You don't even have to do it online. You could just do it with a group of friends that you trust, and say, "Hey guys, I just want to try and see if this works." Kind of thing.
Or if you have a family, like little children, like I have yet to play. I have books that Wizards of the Coast, the people who make D&D, they make them for like so simplistic so that children could play. So if you really wanted to, you could just play with your family, like your wife and kids, and have a great time.
Yeah, and I mean, you can make it whatever mechanics you want. You can throw the rules out the window, and if you want to give it a super crazy different aspect, you can, while still using like the D&D character sheets, and just say, well, these rules are a little too confusing. Do we all want to agree that we want to do it this way? Do it however you want. I mean, my rules are completely different than D&D rules.
And that's the fun with the homebrewing. So.
Yeah. What's really funny is as we were talking, I've actually come up with what the Christmas one shot is going to be in my head as we were talking. I have no idea what it's going to be. And as we've been talking, I was like,
secret isn't friendship.
So powerful.
So we're running out of time. We got this is supposed to end at 7:00. That way we still can have a night. Unless anybody has any last things to say, we do some closing stuff.
I would just say, to build off of what Josh said, we've actually played several quick one shots with my family. Because of the fact, I mean, my mom used to play. My dad had never played. My littlest sibling really wanted to play, and so we ran a couple one shots real quick for like a birthday or so, because they wanted to play. So, that's another aspect. You don't have to have all of just get a huge group together. As like Joe was saying before, one of our first campaigns, we only had 3 players. So yeah.
And don't let yourself falter. I went through 3 campaigns that I ran, never finished them because I just kind of ran into a hard point because I think I made too many weird twists to it. So if you feel like you got to stop and try a new one, go for it.
Go for it.
Just be yourself in the game. Like, you don't have to pretend to be anybody. Like,
if you don't want to, you don't have to. Yeah.
Bring yourself into it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And trust me, if you're playing with a group of friends, it is a fun, surprisingly relaxing experience. The only times I look like I'm stressed is because I'm also doing this and streaming it at the same time, so I might look a little stressed during that. But realistically, it should be fun. You should not be stressed doing it, and you should not be treating it as a game. You should be treating it as a story that you guys are all reading together.
Well, and it's also a nice escape. We all have lives outside of this. We all, and we're all, everyone in our group is an adult. So we all have real lives. We have families. We have jobs, and sometimes it's a great stress reliever to just come and play something that you is in a whole different world, whole different mechanic, everything than what you do on a daily basis, and you could just hang out with some of your friends
and have a great time and laugh, just like because
right.
every session, there's a like a part, at least one part where you just
Well,
bust out laughing with everybody else.
right.
You
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
yeah.
for an example,
Once you
we were
find a
playing-
group, you're
Yeah.
great.
I
You
mean-
find a group of friends to do it with, and you find a good DM. You're
Yep.
set.
And it's okay to keep trying different groups. You don't have to be with the same group all the time. If you want to try something different, that's every DM has a different kind of style of DMing, and so
sometimes it doesn't work for everyone.
and so
What
you
was
can
your? I'm sorry.
go ahead.
What was your example, Joe?
Oh, my example was when we were playing Call of Cthulhu 2 weekends ago, and Jordan was him and I were going back and forth as the chef, and I was his. I had to play as Marcel as his line cook. Nothing planned, but he decided to really go all in with the chef thing. I'm like, all right, I'll play along. And if you guys watched it, we probably had about like a cumulative about a half an hour of us just him being Gordon Ramsay to like me being a what's the thing? You're a stupid sandwich or whatever like that. What are you?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
You're an idiot sandwich. So it can even be like a whole hour of you guys just doing stupid stuff.
Stupid.
and regret
Yeah.
nothing.
Like that same session, Andrew was carrying another one of our players around, even downstairs.
Yeah, I'm like, I need you to roll me for this stuff, and you were like, feeling it's like, yeah. So like, her head is being banged across everything. She's got like a few broken like rib bones, like her knees all busted up. She's got a couple black eyes. She looks like she just got out of Fight Club. It's yeah, have some fun with it. Like, it doesn't have to be realistic. Just have some fun. Make sure you're in a group that everybody understands your kind of humor, and it's a great time.
Heck, you can actually be creatures. Like you can be a turtle, you can be a cat, you can be like there's all these different creatures that you can be. So you don't like one of the campaigns I was in. It was all these little fluffy little creatures that we went on adventures.
You can make up stuff. Like if you just want to make it where it's a campaign full of all cats, and you are all cats, you can just be full cats. You can make up your own race. I mean. Celeste is a race that didn't actually truly exist as a playable race, so I made up a vampire-specific upgrade race for Celeste. So you can do whatever you want.
Andrew's a bird man.
Yeah.
Eric Rockwell.
Yeah.
All right, man.
I just warn you that if you decide to stream it and you want to be bold, you want to stream it, and you want to do homebrew, you still got to follow certain guidelines. Otherwise, D&D can actually get you for it. So make sure that you do. I have to follow certain guidelines with my homebrew.
Mm-hmm.
But to close it up, I want to thank everybody who gave the follow. I think holy crap, we got a lot of follows. I appreciate everyone who followed. I appreciate all the views. Couple different things. One, I'm going to try to do a podcast once a week, probably on Tuesdays. So whoever joins. We're going to be talking about different stuff. Next week is going to be Cowboy Bebop. The following week is going to be part 2 of this. So we'll have some of the other players that are part of the campaign also partake in. And as a surprise, like I was saying before, is I have the one shot all set for what I want to be our Thanksgiving one shot. So we'll have that sometime around Thanksgiving. Obviously not on Thanksgiving. We want to spend time with our families. But we'll have that sometime planned out. So look out for my schedule for that. I'll post on Instagram. But I thank you all for watching. We love you all. Thanks for the follows. Thank you for the views. And we will see you later.
Bye.